for third year first semester students, pharmacology 2. Under this topic is congestive heart failure. Congestion means accumulation of blood or body fluid in an organ or any tissue is called congestion. So here congestion takes place due to the heart failure. So that's why it is called congestive heart failure. In this, there is the insufficiency of the heart to pump sufficient amount of the oxygenated blood to the body organ to meet metabolic demand. So here classification is low cardiac output failure, high cardiac output failure. In low cardiac output failure, metabolic demand of the body is normal, but the heart fail to pump due to the ventricular systolic or diastolic dysfunction. This will be happen due to the myocardial infarction or cardiomyopathies. In a high cardiac output failure, the metabolic demand of the body increases, but the cardiac output is normal. So this will be happen due to the hyperthyroidism or anemia. And another classification is left side cardiac failure, right side cardiac failure. In left side cardiac failure, the blood retains the left ventricle due to any reason which failed to accept the blood from the auricles and lungs. This lead to accumulation of blood in a lungs. This lead to the pulmonary edema. In right side cardiac failure, blood retains the right ventricle, failed to accept the blood from the auricles and vena cavas. This lead to the accumulation of blood in peripheral tissue. This lead to the peripheral edema. And coming to causes, there are so many causes are there. Most important one is BP, hypertension. Due to hypertension, cardiac remodeling takes place. This lead to the congestive heart failure, aortic valve stenosis, cardiomyopathies, cardiac valve dysfunctions, hyperthyroidism, anemia, bradycardia, tachycardia, arrhythmias, left ventricular dysfunction, drugs like doxorubicin, cocaine, ethanol, interferon alpha, interferon, interleukin 2. So here it is a etiology. This is the flow chart. So overall there is a cardiac remodeling takes place. This leads to ventricular dilation, which lead to further condition of decreasing cardiac output. This cycle will be continued. Overall there is a cardiac remodeling takes place, failed to pump sufficient amount of the blood. So there are two things happen: decreased force of contraction, decreasing cardiac output. Decreasing force of contraction reflexly stimulate the sympathetic system. This lead to the release of noradrenaline and adrenaline. So noradrenaline acts on blood vessels on alpha receptor. This lead to the construction of blood vessel. So there is temporary increasing preload and as well as afterload. Same way adrenaline acts on beta receptors. So on the heart, this increases the force of contraction. Both together will cause cardiac remodeling. So anyway, these two activities, alpha and beta activity, this initial increment in the cardiac output, later on long term, so there is a gradual decline in the cardiac output will be noticed. On other way, decreasing cardiac output, this also leads to decreased renal perfusion. So now kidney releases the renin. So now this renin will convert excess amount of angiotensin to excess amount of angiotensin 2. Now it will cause cardiac remodeling as I explained previously. Angiotensin 2 also causes increasing aldosterone release as well as increasing preload and afterload. So anyway, this aldosterone will cause retention of sodium and water. This lead to further worsening of condition. This retention of water also takes place due to the reduced renal perfusion. This lead to the increasing glomerular filtration rate. So overall sodium retention, water retention takes place. Overall it will cause increasing edema. So this increasing edema causes symptoms like dyspnea, cyanosis, cough, bilateral cleft, pulmonary congestion, hepatic congestion, peripheral congestion, generalized edema, tachycardia, engorgement of the neck vein. So come to the symptoms, clinical manifestations, fluid retention, peripheral edema and increasing weight and pulmonary congestion. So this lead to the pinkish and frothy sputum, auscultation, that is hearing of body sound like a cracking sound will be observed in chest, and dyspnea, orthopnea. This difficulty in respiration is called dyspnea, orthopnea, difficulty of respiration when the person is lying in position. Cardiovascular symptoms like tachycardia, hypotension, cyanosis. Renal symptoms like nocturnia, oliguria, reduced urine output is called oliguria, increasing blood nitrogen and urea creatinine levels because these wastes are accumulated in blood. That's why this blood nitrogen content increases. Here cardiac remodeling. So here there is a enlargement of wall thickness will be observed. So inner space of the ventricles will be reduces, cardiac output will be reduced. Here neck vein engorgement will we can peculiarly observe in these cases. Here this is a dyspnea of the patient. Diagnosis, there are so many diagnostic tests are there. By physical examination, heart valve sounds, we can detect the valve dysfunction. Internal jugular vein pressure and echocardiogram. This is diagram indicated in echocardiogram, where we can observe the valves. Lab test like sodium, creatinine levels, alanine, SCOT, thyroid function test, full blood count, and blood gas levels also indicate this condition. And next one is drugs used in treatment of congestive heart failure. So here drugs are classified into based on positive inotropic effect without positive inotropic effect. So under this, cardiac glycoside, digoxin, digoxin, phosphodiesterase enzyme inhibitors, enamidone, levosimendan, and beta adrenergic agonist, dobutamine, dopamine. Drugs without positive inotropic effect, angiotensin convertase enzyme inhibitors, captopril, enalapril, ramipril, beta adrenergic antagonist, bisoprolol, metoprolol. All these having suffix of lols, diuretics, acetazolamide, and furosemide, vasodilators like hydrogen isosorbide dinitrate. So drugs without positive inotropic drugs we will study under the antihypertensive agents under the separate topic. So in this class I will cover the main pharmacology of digoxin and digoxin, and also I will cover phosphodiesterase enzyme inhibitors. Beta adrenergic agonist already have studied in a previous semester, dobutamine and dopamine. They will work temporarily. So coming to the cardiac glycosides, they are also called cardiotonics. Their mechanism of action is inhibition of sodium potassium ATPase pump. Due to this pump inhibition, there is calcium accumulation takes place. This calcium is helpful for the forceful contraction of the myocardium. This will improve the cardiac output, that is called positive inotropic effect. So here the molecular mechanism is calcium enters into the sarcoplasmic reticulum via L type of calcium channels as well as with exchange of calcium sodium exchange pump. So anyway, this pump activity depends upon the sodium potassium ATPase pump. If this sodium potassium ATPase pump inhibited, sodium will be accumulated. This accumulated excess sodium will exchange with excess amount of calcium. Now this excess calcium will stores in sarcoplasmic reticulum during the contraction procedure. So excess amount of calcium will be released, that will promote excess contraction without consuming excess nutrients and oxygen. So that's why it is called cardiotonics. The workload will reduce but efficiency improved. Pharmacokinetics of the cardiac glycosides are normal, but it is having large volume of distribution because it is accumulated in the heart tissues. It also enters into the enterohepatic circulation. So here the pharmacology of these drugs can be explained by the Frank Starling's theory. So according to him, there are on x-axis left ventricular filling pressure and y-axis stroke volume. Their relationship can be explained by the Frank Starling's lines. So here E and F line, before going to know, so here the normal value 0 to 25 mm Hg of the left ventricular pressure, that is also called preload. So this is normal pressure. Beyond this pulmonary edema takes place. So IJ line explains the boundaries. Beyond this pulmonary edema takes place. E and J line, there is a relationship with left ventricular filling pressure with increasing stroke volume. In case of CHF, A and B, so there is a gradual increment may be lost compared to the EJ line. So here stroke volume may not increased as we seen in EJ line. It is less than the normal level of K and L. In case of C and D, it is a digitalized heartbeat, may not reach to the normal level of the cardiac output as you seen in E and J. And G and H, this line, there is a linear relationship will be observed and up to this line, that is G and H. So here the effect on heart is increasing force of contraction, pump greater efficiency without consuming extra oxygen and nutrients. And coming to the activity on heart rate, so here the digitalase acts on vagus nerve. It stimulates the vagus nerve. Now vagus nerve releases ACH. Now ACH acts on heart. It will reduces the sympathetic activity, promotes the parasympathetic activity. So heart rate reduces by reducing sympathetic activity and reducing the heart rate. Refractory period, small dose will causes atrium refractory period will be shortened, and large dose it will be prolonged. Automaticity of the AB node and SU node will be increases. In ECG, ST segment will be depressed and T wave will be inverted. On blood vessel vasoconstriction takes place. On CNS, high dose of this cardiac glycosylates stimulates the CTZ, which leads to the nausea and vomiting. And kidney, because in distalized heart, especially in the congestive heart patients, there is improvement in the circulation. This lead to diuretic effect in CHF patients but not normal persons. Are coming to adverse reaction, bradycardia due to reflex vagus stimulation, ventricular arrhythmias, AV block, nausea and anorexia, blurred vision. This can be treated with potassium salts, and toxicity of the digitalase can be treated with potassium salts. And drug interaction like when it is given amiodarone, verapamil, diltiazem, tetracycline, this lead to the increasing plasma concentration, leads to toxicity. Quinidine, so it reduces the biliary clearance of the digitalase and reduces the protein binding of the digitalase. This lead to the increasing free concentration of digitalase. This lead to the ventricular arrhythmias and toxicity. Diuretics, when it is given with diuretics, it reduces the potassium levels. This lead to the arrhythmias. And calcium salts, when it is given with the calcium salts, there is the abnormal increment in the calcium in the sarcoplasmic reticulum. This lead to toxicity. And antacids, all antacids, for any drug it reduces absorption, it also reduces the digitalase absorption. And cholestyramine will break down the enterohepatic circulation. Contraindication, hypokalemia, it is contraindicated. If you observe the mechanism, you can understand. In renal failure and ventricular tachycardia, it is contraindicated. Used mainly used in congestive heart failure, chronic supraventricular tachycardia and dilated heart. To treat dilated heart, it is also helpful. And phosphodiesterase enzyme 3 inhibitors, enamidone, levosimendan. So these drugs improves the availability of the cyclic AMP by inhibiting phosphodiesterase enzyme 3. So this enzyme degrades cyclic AMP, so that degradation is inhibited. So this lead to the availability of more and more cyclic AMP. Now cyclic AMP will causes positive inotropic effect, as well as it also causes vasodilatation. Adverse reactions are diarrhea, abdominal pain, liver damage, fever, a little bit of fever, not severe fever, and arrhythmias. There is no specific adverse drug interactions, and contraindications mainly used in emergency situation. Remaining drugs I will cover under antihypertensive agents. Thank you.